I took Nadia to the park today with me. She's at home with me still. She refuses to wear a mask at school, so she is doing everything online. She finished up her schoolwork, and it's really nice to have one-on-one time with her because I haven't had a lot of that. I had it with Sophia while she was homeschooling for a couple years, and I had it with James while the other two girls were at school, but I haven't had a lot of solid one-on-one time with Nadia. And Nadia is my middle child, and she is like the epitome of a middle child in a beautiful way, in a good way. She's a strong-willed child. She's a spirited child. And I took her to the park today, and we were hiking, and she is my child that is most connected to Pachamama. She is the one who is most connected when we're out in nature, that will stop with me and look and pay attention to what's going on around her and watch the limbs blow in the breeze and watch the birds. We'll take the binoculars and look for the birds, and listen to the woodpecker. And she's very intense in her knowing when she is in nature. And it was really cool because she was being so creative. She's 9. And so she's kind of on that cusp where kids start to potentially lose their creativity because of what they're taught in school and because they start to engage in more technology and social media. And it's just an age. They're on a cusp around that age. And she was really cool to watch because she has this really solid knowing of what is going on around her and what she believes about the earth and how she feels connected to the earth. And we're walking and she's touching each tree and she's telling me how old this tree is. Every tree, she knows their age, and the trees are speaking to her, and she's delivering messages to me from the trees. And I thought that was really cool. And then we walked over a tree that was dead and was laying across the path, and we had to step over it, and she insisted that she was the leader, she was the tour guide, and that whenever we step over a dead tree, we must tell the tree to rest in peace. And that melted my heart. And we would stop, and we would listen to the water. She would tell me what the water was saying. And I just was so impressed and so inspired by her real true knowing of what was going on around her and her connection to the earth that was speaking to her. And I want to remind you that as adults, we can have a tendency to squash this in our child, this tendency to make our children think realistically and plan for the future. And I want to encourage you to encourage your child to hold on to their whimsical part of their personality, where they're really connected to imagination. Because many of us believe that what's going on in here is not a reality, but it absolutely is. Because what goes on in here is what becomes in the physical world. And when we teach our kids to hold on to their power to create in here, we teach our kids to hold on to their power to control their lives. And not to control their lives in a obsessive compulsive way, to allow the outside world to still guide. And so this is the thing about creativity and about imagination, is that is the connection to the divine. And when we encourage our children to maintain that connection to the divine, they keep that channel open. And though they feel a sense of control over their lives, they are willing and open and connected to allow the guidance, because the creativity is the guidance. And this reminds me of a conversation I had with Sophia when she was 9 years old. You know what she asked me? This is profound. She said, "Mom, how do I do what I want to do, but still do what God wants me to do?" And I didn't know how to answer that question at the time because I didn't understand. And I feel my truth. It doesn't have to be your truth, but I feel that I have a greater understanding now to answer that question. And this is my answer. There is no separation. And I believed this as a child. I believed that in order to do what God wanted me to do, I had to sacrifice what I wanted to do. But there is no separation. As long as what you want to do is conscious and honorable and heart-centered, there is no separation. And so as we tap into what makes us feel good and what makes us happy And when we tap into our zone of genius, we've talked about that in the past, our zone of genius, what really lights us up? What could you talk about for an hour without stopping? When you connect with that, that is what God wants for you. And she asked this question around singing because she loves to sing. And so now I say to her, if singing is what lights you up and singing is what is fun for you, this is part of your zone of genius. This is in alignment with what your God wants for you. And so keep stepping forward, but keep that channel open so that God can show you the path of least resistance. Because we all have a path of least resistance, which is the easiest way for you to get there. When you're going with the flow, just going with the flow. There's nothing better than going with the flow. It feels so good. The only thing that's better than going with the flow is when you're going with the flow, you start talking about going with the flow. And then you're grooving even more and it gets better and better and better.